Hi, guys, and welcome back to Season 3, Episode 3 of Business Shit. I'm your host, Mimi G, and today's topic is It Is What It Is with my special guest.
Hello.
My daughter is back, Chastidy. Hello, applause. You see Nora's back there with the sound effects.
I like it.
So, everybody loved the last episode that we did together.
Yeah,
You thought it was good. You were interviewing me.
Yeah.
Asking me some tough questions.
Yeah. I want to do it again and ask you even better questions.
Okay, we could do that. But today I wanted to have you back because you and I are very much into very specific things like, just energy and manifestation and, all these different things. And you read a lot about a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like weird stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of weird stuff. Like what kind of stuff you read?
I mean, I don't know, UFO stuff or quantum physics stuff or epigenetics.
See, I don't even know what epigenetics is.
I don't know.
But she reads about it. But actually what prompted this was it's the new year and you started off the new year a little rough. a little on the rough side. And we were talking about it because we, when something happens in our lives that is not necessarily good, we generally laugh about it.
Yeah, we do.
Like even after the initial first couple of minutes of hey mom, this is happening.
Oh my gosh. And then there's quickly a joke after.
Yeah. So do you want to share what happened at the start of the year?
Well, I found a lump near my breast, and went to the doctor to get it checked out. And while I was there, had her look at some bug bites that were on my back.
Yes.
That turned out not to be bug bites at all.
Right.
Am I telling? Do I say what it is? I have shingles.
Shingles.
2020 shingles.
Hashtag 2020 shingles, you guys. Okay.
Shingles is making a comeback. I don't know.
So you called to tell me that you had shingles. Well, first you called me about the lump. And, I said, okay, let's not panic. It could be all sorts of things. Just make an appointment. Go get yourself checked out. We'll see what happens. And then we quickly moved on and, you said you'd call me later and then you did. Then you called to tell me, hey, it turns out those bites are shingles.
Yes.
And then I said to you, isn't that an old people's disease?
Yeah.
My bad to the old people, but which is funny because grandma said the same thing. She's like, isn't that something older people get?
Yeah.
So it is uncommon for someone your age.
Right, it is.
To get shingles. So for those of you guys who don't know, it's a rash. Look it up. Google it. So that was happening, right? But within that, right, then there was a little blessing. Well, not really kind of a blessing, right? Because then you went to the pharmacy. Turns out you knew somebody.
Right. The medication was originally $200. I had done the lady's hair. And we got it down to $60.
See, that's, And I said to you, when the universe gives you shitty stuff, it sometimes will give you small little wins to help you get through the shitty moments.
Right. And most people don't pay attention to those little things.
No, they don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Because if you were one of those people, you've been you would have got the discount, but not really had associated with
Right.
something
The association is important. I
right.
think.
You would have forgotten to be grateful for it. Because you would have been oh shit, I got shingles.
Right. Well, if I didn't have shingles in the first place, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Exactly, which is generally what would happen. Right. But we were let's be grateful. Let's show gratitude for the discount. Holla.
Shout out to my girl.
So then we hang up and me and Chastity talk every day. I don't think there's usually a day we go without. Unless you're really busy or I'm really busy. We talk every day. And so then the next day, she FaceTimed me. And she's like, Mom, I don't know where my car is.
This is true.
She's like, I don't know where my car is. And I'm like, did you forget where you parked? She's like, nope. It's just not there.
Not there. Oh, I was in tears in the middle of the street. I had to report it stolen.
Yeah. So, at first, I said, okay, well, You making your papers, girl? That wasn't it. And then we thought maybe it got towed. So, but you park there all the time, right? Because it's like where your office is. Yeah, where your salon is. So, so you ended up having to report your car stolen. And even after that, we still sort of laughed a little bit after, like, oh shit, where's your car? Your car's missing. Like, and what was funny is then you had a conversation with one of your girlfriends, Mel, who said what to you?
That I think that bad things are not supposed to like happen to me. Like, well, you just think like, you know, nothing bad is ever going to happen. Like everything's just good for you. And you don't think these things are supposed to happen to you.
Right. And you said they're not.
They're not.
They're not supposed to happen to you.
Yeah, and just because bad things happened,
right,
is not going to make me say I deserve for bad things to happen to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was really interesting because when you called to tell me what Mel had said, I said the same thing. Mm-hmm. I said, they're not supposed to happen because we don't sort of live our lives that way, right? We believe in, you know, positive energy, and we believe in, you know, focusing on the things that you want for your life, manifesting things that you want for your life, and being really aware of the things that you accept into your life and the things that you don't accept into your life. So it's not to say that we don't think anything should ever happen to us, because fucking life happens, sucks, and sometimes shit just happens. But within that, how you deal with it is really what makes the difference, right? So we accept the things that maybe, you know, we think, oh, this shouldn't be happening to me. They come in, we deal with them. If you cannot fix it, then you don't worry about it.
Don't worry.
'Cause you can't do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Receive it. It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. And then send that shit right back.
Yeah.
Right? Because the problem, I think, and you can tell me if you agree, the thing I think happens to most people is when the shit, you know, happens, when things are bad and it comes, and then they hold on to it.
Right.
You hold on to it, you complain about it, even though you cannot fix it, you cannot change it, but you spend all your time talking about how negative and complaining, and then all you do is you fester that bad energy.
Yeah, you just keep putting your energy into the bad energy.
Yes.
And then it's like bigger and bigger. And then most people look around and go, well, see? There's the proof right there. Something bad happened. Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of like, oh, it's a little bigger than that.
Right.
You know, how you thought about it is more important.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that one thing that is really, because you called me the next day, you came over and then you left. And then the next day you called and you were like, Mom, just calling to let you know that I feel emotionally better.
Yeah.
And I said, that's good, because one of the things that you're really good at is taking whatever it is and then analyzing how it's happening and, you know, what you can or cannot do, and then moving past it.
Right.
So because you're so much into sort of, you know, the positive energy and, you know, visualizing what it is that you want for your life, I thought it was really interesting because I think probably a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, you called to ask me a question, which was sort of, for me, came out of, you know, nowhere. But what was the question you asked me?
If looking back at your life now, do you see how maybe your mindset contributed to getting you to where you are right now? Did you always believe in that manifestation? And if you didn't, can you kind of look back now and see how the things that you were thinking, the things that you believed, brought you like right here, right now?
You know, so for me at the time, I was like, hey, I ain't believe no damn it. I was in the middle of like...
Yeah, it's working whether we know it or not.
Exactly. And that's a good point. So I'm going to have you talk about that, because for me, I didn't know anything about that. No one had ever told me about energy or, you know, your thoughts and how, you know, your brain and what you think and where you put your energy really dictates like what's happening, what you bring into your life. Like that was, nobody ever talked to me about that. But, and so even in all the moments of crisis, we had a lot of them, you know, navigating being a single mom, a single young mom. I don't think I ever really thought about it, but I did always feel like I was going to do more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't ever really feel like I might have in the moment been like, okay, this is happening and I'm going to deal with it. And then I move on, which I think is why you had asked that, right? Because you were like, you never really like.
No, because it's working whether we know it or not. Like, where you're putting your energy is going to keep growing, whether you're aware of it or not. But I do think that you always had a very solid, like, there wasn't really much doubt that you would do something great, right?
Yeah, I think, I just think that, and I said this to you, that for me, it was actually a defense mechanism, right? And so, very much to your point, that we don't know when it's working, right? But it's always working. And so for me, I was manifesting without knowing it because I was using my thoughts to block out shit that was happening to protect myself. Because there were many moments where I was near nervous breakdowns, panic. I couldn't feed you guys. I couldn't pay the bill. You know, the lights were off and I'm lighting a candle talking about it's story time. But a bitch just didn't have no lights. You know, like, and I think that instead of when those moments would happen, I think I knew, honestly, Chas, I think I knew if you sit with this right now, you're going to break.
Right.
Right? And so because I knew that I was already super fragile, I would just cut it off. And I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to deal with it because if I can't fix it, fuck it. Right?
Yeah.
And that defense mechanism to keep myself going every day turned out to be the one thing that has me here today.
Very
interesting.
You know? No, it's really good. I heard this one woman say that, like, your thoughts don't really know what's a joke or not.
Ooh.
I had a friend a long time ago who would joke that he was such a bad person that his son was going to come out with Down syndrome.
Oh.
He joked about this. And he had a baby one day, and the baby had Down syndrome, some heart issues, and some other stuff. But when I was reading this book about manifestation, she's saying, your mind doesn't really know, like, what's a joke or not. So you laughing it off to your body is probably just as real, you know?
Right.
It doesn't really know you're joking or you're just using it as a defense mechanism.
Right.
Those jokes we make are important too.
Yeah,
a lot of
I
the
think
stuff we
everything.
say
Yeah, everything we say, everything we think, right? Because you might not necessarily say it, but if you're constantly dwelling on something, you know, a lot of people who get into bad situations or financial issues or in relationships that are constantly bad and toxic, it's because they're constantly dwelling on the same things, expecting the next bad thing. When people say, "Oh, you know, everything's really good, but I'm waiting for the shoe to drop." What? Why?
Who taught you that?
Exactly. Why are you waiting for the shoe to drop? No, this is good. Both shoes are staying on. Keep going, you know?
Or people live in that, like, oh, everything's going really good, so something bad has to happen soon.
Right.
Why do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. You're just calling it to yourself.
Yeah, you believe it so much that when it happens, you're like, see? Told you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For the amount of time that it takes people to retrain their brain, I think is what probably is most daunting to people.
Yeah.
Because we grow up, and I talk about this on the podcast all the time, we grow up always expecting something bad to happen, right? And so because of that, when I tell people that you have to change your mindset, it's really hard. Hell, it's hard for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I write my gratitude list down. That's why I type into my phone my notes, and because it's really hard to train your brain to do the opposite of what it's been doing your whole entire life.
Yeah.
You know.
I think I heard this doctor say that from the age, I think till you're like 7, your brain is in a downloading state. So everything that you don't even remember, you know, your parents could have been fighting, your sister could have been doing whatever, and it's downloaded. And I think you act out about 95% of your subconscious or something crazy like that.
Oh my God.
If you're not, you know, working on it and training it. So think of all the things that people learn from such a young age and then grow up and have to, like, undownload, essentially.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think that is the most daunting part. The
actual work it takes.
But you have to enjoy the work.
Right. obviously. Yeah, we were talking. I was talking to Norris the other day about. I said, "Oh, I'm going to bring Chastidy on. We're going to talk about manifestation and this, that, and the other thing." And he was like, "Yeah," and then talk about the work. And I'm like, "Good point," because I spoke at a conference, Relentless, and the guy who put the conference together, Danny Morrell, he built this like huge company. And he had been talking about, manifestation and how he knew this was going to happen for himself and how he really focused on it. And when I was talking, I was saying, this is all great. You're all inspired and everything. But, don't think that Danny was sitting on a hammock in Costa Rica just manifesting this great corporation that he built. And then it just showed up. Like, it takes a lot of work. You actually have to do the steps, to make the things that you want happen. It's not like you're going to think yourself rich and then somebody's going to drop a bag of money at your front door.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes some time with yourself.
Yeah.
Also, I think even going back to the whole everything that I've had in the beginning of the year, when you're in that frazzled state and you're feeling like a victim, you don't hear a solution.
Right.
Like, you ever notice that? Like, when you're in it and you're feeling that way and they want a solution so bad, and you're not going to hear a solution that way.
Yeah.
That's why I think I had to, like, calm the mind.
Calm the mind. So, I joke about this, but, it's 100% true, and I have no problem admitting to this. I was a shitty-ass parent when I was young. And, I was a mom by the time I was 16 years old. And unfortunately, you had the worst of it, right? Because you were the firstborn. And so you went through the most amount of shit with me. And so sometimes for me, Chas, to be quite honest, when I sit back and I look at you, I'm like, how did I raise her? Like, because
so cool.
You experienced all of these different things and you have seen me at my absolute worst and you've seen me at my best. And I don't necessarily think I spent enough time with you, maybe like in a teaching sort of way.
Right.
You saw me do a lot of things, but I don't think that I ever really was like, oh, Chastidy, you should really do this or do that, Now, obviously in the later years, we do that all the time now. But how do you think that you're you? Like maybe I did, in some way, through example, I don't know, maybe, but it's impressive actually when I see like the young lady that you are now, considering.
Awesome. Well, I think even though you don't know that you were teaching at the time, you did teach even the bad stuff, everything kind of, I had a choice. Like I either repeat certain things and or do something a little different. Also, I think when I got a little older and you were talking to me about it, that definitely helped. Mm-hmm. I never felt like I needed anything from you. Mm-hmm. I never needed an apology or a conversation about it. I think for some reason I have always felt like I don't want to be a victim of stuff, even the things people do to me, even you or my friends or whatever. I think I've always had that. I don't know. My curiosity, I guess, about things led me to this. I think I've always felt like a spiritual connection with myself. Mm-hmm. Almost like something always calling me home, in a way. So I think, I guess that's been really important to me.
I think what's funny is how much we are like the same person.
Yeah, we like the same stuff, the same movies, the same shows, the same information.
Yeah, like the thought process. Because, I had my own issues with my mom. And, they were very different than, our issues. But I had to also get to a point where I was like, Mom, you did the best you could with what you had. And people don't, as a kid, I don't think you think about those things until you become an adult. Because that, I surely didn't appreciate all of the things that were happening, things that she was dealing with that I had no knowledge of. That I have no idea how I would have handled until I became an adult. And I was like, oh, that's my alarm telling me I'm supposed to do something else for work. Girl, I got to set alarms because I will forget things. I'd be like,
Those
go
alarms.
photograph, go call,
Yeah.
whatever. But you mentioned being a victim, so I'm going to read something.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Chastity is a writer, a very fantastic writer. She's so deep, y'all. And
Thanks.
she'll text me something that she wrote, and or sometimes she just will send me something that she read and for me to read it. So I got this message and I started to read it, and I actually didn't realize that you had written it until I got to the end. I thought it was from a book, and I was reading it like,
cool.
man, this is really good. And then I was like, oh shit, she wrote it. So I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it. Okay. So it says, one day when the illusion of pain is no longer apparent in you, you will look back and remember fond times. When the invisible cloak of victim lifts itself off your shoulders, you will remember just how beautiful this life is. Don't ever let anger or disappointment alter the true story. Don't ever let it alter how you view the world or how you view yourself. Disappointments are a part of life. However, they usually stem from the expectations that you have applied, so live without any. There are people who fill their own cup and those who want the cup filled for them. Remember to always fill your own cup because ultimately that is the only way. Yo.
Thank you.
I need an applause. I need a something. Like Norris was caught up. He ain't even give me no applause. Chastity, I don't even really I read this and I was like, that is so insightful and had so much self-awareness.
Thank you.
That I was like, yo, that's my daughter. This line where you said that people, you either fill your own cup or people want their cup filled for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that's so deep.
It's like you either have a solution or you're somebody sitting there like, the solution lies in something else.
Right.
But yeah.
But people don't. And I think that's really, like, people always blame their circumstances or situations on something that's happened to them or something somebody else did. Mm-hmm. And I remember, you were going through this dating phase or whatever, and you said to me, I think that the problem is that I have expectations. Mm-hmm. So if I just go into certain situations without the expectations, right? Because I don't think anybody could ever fulfill whatever expectations we have in our heads. Right?
Yeah, good point.
Especially as women, I think we assume that you should know what the fuck I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And then better yet, you should know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Right?
Without me telling you.
Without me telling you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get ourselves caught up in like these bad relationships, not just, male, female or whatever, but just regular friendships or parent, daughter friendships or sisters, whatever, because we have these expectations that we put on people. And so then we get disappointed.
Yeah, we do.
When they don't do exactly what we thought they should do or say or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So was there something connected to that?
I guess a lot of, I would probably say the biggest thing, my dating life. I think I found that the biggest thing I had to work on were unhealthy attachments and expecting that someone's supposed to make me feel good or fix something. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that writing stems from that, the expectations I have applied on people. Mm-hmm. And then being able to kind of navigate life with the understanding of that and that being different and seeing the outcome of that is like so different because now you get to enjoy things because you actually enjoy them, not because you want something out of it.
Right.
I heard someone say like, don't look at people as emotional prey. And it's so true. We do that all the time.
Right.
If you're not, then you're someone who's filling your own cup.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. Always looking for someone else to fill whatever it is that's missing, which I did for years.
Yeah. People, things, jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I tell people, like, it took me up till I was, in my late 30s, to be in a relationship that was actually 100% healthy for me, right? Because the relationship came from me being in a completely different space where I wasn't relying on someone else to make me feel a certain way. I wasn't trying to make anyone happy. I wasn't trying to live for somebody else. I wasn't trying to do any of that. I was really in a place where I felt 100% me, secure in what I was doing, safe. And so you love differently, you know, when you're in that space.
That's a real love right there.
Yeah. So maybe at some point we'll have some grandbabies.
Oh my God.
I want a grandbaby so
Does
bad.
anyone want to give me some grandbabies?
She's
I'm
ready.
down.
She's
down.
ready.
Oh man, yeah. Expectations. Women expect to have babies.
False expectations. You don't need any of it. No, I think it's amazing. I think, I think where you are and just listening to you when you talk to me about these different things, because y'all, sometimes she talks to me about something, and I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? Epidural, what? But I love it because I think that one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is to learn as much as possible about all kinds of different topics, about things that, you know, you never know when you're going to need to apply them. And I think you have sort of that like endless well of wanting to know, you know, all of these different things. And
it can be annoying sometimes though. It really can. I'm just like, man, what else can I learn? What else is there? I need to be doing something.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. And you must get that from, well, I like to read, but
I started to read because of your bookshelf. You had this bookshelf. I remember a few books that were on it. The Four Agreements was on it.
Fantastic book, yeah.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you had that there. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was on that show.
Hey, your girl was always thinking about some money.
A to Z Serial Killers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a fascination
I liked that one.
with true crime, yeah.
And then the first book I ever read was called A Perfect Night to Go to China. It was by David Gilmour, and it was on your bookshelf.
Really?
Yeah, it was a good book, but I don't think I was able to really understand it then.
Yeah, well, I think I used to read a lot more then. I have a lot more time on my hands. Now I just subject myself to audibles and I can listen to like 3 books in a week, which is awesome. But there is something to be said for actually holding a book in your hand and making notes and highlighting and sort of, you know. So whenever I listen to a book that I really love, I will order the hard copy on Amazon and then go back through and like highlight and sticky note and, you know, and of course, you know, 90% of the books that I read are all related to the mind or the business or the something, you know, where I think you have a broader.
It's interesting when you start like, I mean, it goes hand in hand with manifesting things. When you start like getting more curious about things, you see how like, just try it. Like, oh, blue scooter or whatever. And you'll start to see these things. These books kind of fall in my lap.
Yeah.
In the strangest times. I found a book recently at a thrift store, and the cover had like brown paper over it, so I didn't know what the name of it was. But when I opened it, it got me curious because it was about manifestation and your mind and all that. And it was written in maybe the 30s by this woman. She was kind of like a new age philosopher. But it's interesting to read stuff that was written so long ago that doesn't really contradict much of what people are barely starting to talk to about now. Consciousness. It's incredible. Out of everything I would say that I read, it all connects.
It all connects at some point.
It all makes sense. It is all at some way or some level. You are not a victim. You are creating your world. Enjoy it.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great message. And that's the one thing that I try to repeat as much as possible on this podcast is that you really do create everything that is coming to you. You are bringing it to you, whether you're fully aware of it or not. Yeah. You know, that's a good exercise. So I usually do an actionable to do, right? I give them homework, which sometimes, you know, make a list or read a book or whatever. But today's actionable to do is for people to do something really small, like you just said. So I want them to think about a blue scooter.
Right.
And that blue scooter is going to be in your head. Think about it, visualize a scooter, and then see how many scooters you see.
Yeah, because once you start being aware of it, it just kind of shows itself to you. There's this old old story in the Torah. It's basically just that the way that they see God, right? Whatever you want to call it, is like a friend coming up to you with a mask on, saying, "Who is it? Who is it?" And you're like, "I don't know. I can't see you." And then you guess correctly, right? You've connected. You're like, "Sarah." And then she takes off her mask, and now you can see Sarah. That's kind of how I view law of attraction in a way. The minute you start to like recognize it, the minute you own it, the minute you give it that attention and that gratitude, then it starts to kind of show itself to you a little bit.
Yeah. I think people just need to be aware.
Yeah, just be aware.
Be aware of it, both good and bad, because when I have, I think it's just like we said, it takes a lot of time and training for your brain to change, because even now sometimes I will find myself sitting doing something and I'll get a negative thought and then I have to replace it, right? I have to replace the negative thought with a good thought, because it's hard. It's hard to do. We're humans, obviously. And because when this first happened and you were like, "Mom, I think I'm being tested," like, "Oh, I think I'm being tested."
Because I think it's hard to believe in manifestation, but then also not believe that some of the bad things that are happening to you are from your own doing too.
Right.
I don't have any problem. If anything, I prefer to say, okay, is there something going on in my mind? Maybe, am I living in some element of fear? Am I living in some, am I not grateful maybe? What have I been saying about the things that I have? And if I can, even if it's something silly, like I hate my car. Right. I want a new car.
Which you had been saying.
And I had been saying I want a new car. Not like this,
right. But yeah, you had been complaining about your car a lot, and so subconsciously,
I don't mind. I want the responsibility of it, because then that means I can create it. If I can make it bad, I can make it great.
Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping. Are we hoping the car gets better? Are we hoping they find it?
At this point,
because now it's got bad juju.
I just feel like juju. This car, it's time for it to go. If you see a Fiat,
a little mint green Fiat in LA with the missing hubcap, holla at your girl. Leave me a comment. Oh my God. Well, thank you for coming and sharing with me, because it's always fun to talk to you. I know, like I said, we talk all the time.
Yeah.
But I think it's, some of the things that you always say to me are always sort of stick with me, when you send me writings like that, I'm like, I think that you're somebody who has a whole lot to say, and you just need the platform, which is why I'm like, write it down. I'm going to make a book. I'm going to turn you into a best-selling author, because you have obviously the potential. But beyond that, I think you just have a lot of creative thinking, and I love it, because I still have the two little ones, right? I still have Bubby and I still have Monty. Right. And I think that you're a really great example to them. You know what I'm saying? And you're like my best friend, like we're like my daughter. You're my daughter, obviously, but we talk like we're friends. Yeah. Until I got to pull the mom card and be like, yeah. But for the most part, we're always really open, and you guys have always been really open, especially you. I think you, out of all the kids, has always been very open with me, where you would share things that I necessarily didn't want you to share. Well, I think I did want you to share, but I just didn't really hear it. You know, sometimes as moms, especially, we're like, I want you to be open and share your thing, everything that you're doing, and don't hide from me, and it's okay. And then when they do, you're like, oh, wow, you're really telling me. But I think that has allowed for our relationship to be the way that it is.
Oh, yeah. That openness. Yeah.
You never really felt like you had to hide something.
Yeah. That's the best thing. I always tell my clients too, because, they think that smothering their children is like the best thing, that's really gonna, or putting this, like implementing all this fear into them, but really they're just gonna grow up and be fearful. And I didn't have any of that with you. I didn't have to hide. I didn't feel scared of anything. Even when we were going through stuff, I mean, we were still cool. Yeah. So
well, I think for me, I didn't have a whole lot of time to talk with my mom, because I left home so young. So I didn't have that time with her. But for me, I guess I always felt like I didn't want my kids to be afraid to talk to me about something, and then me later find out, that something's happened to you, or that you went through something and I could have helped. And so I figured, and I didn't know if it would work or not, but I figured that if I had a safe space where you guys could always come to me and tell me anything, no matter what it was, that at the very least, it would give me an opportunity to talk to you.
Right.
Right. So I figured, well, if I yell and, and I create fear, then I lose the opportunity to give her advice.
Right.
And
then you breed fear in me.
Right. And so, kudos to me for that. Hey. Anyway, thank you for coming on to the podcast. I love having you. And I think everybody else really liked that last episode we did. So I know they're going to love this episode and they're going to love you because I love you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you, Mom.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. And remember that in order for your business to succeed, it has to be the shit. It needs to solve a problem, help them get past their current stage, earn respect, and build trust. I'm out.